Welcome to the next episode of the Gentleman of Style Show. I'm Baldwin.
And I'm Creech, and today is a big treat for me. We've got our first husband and wife guest.
Absolutely. We have Anthony and Carlina Pridgeon in the house. Anthony Pridgeon and Carlina are the proud owners of IBA Solutions and Aunt Betty's Halal Soul Food.
Yes, yes.
So we are so pleased to have them here today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So come on in, guys. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the Gentleman Style Show. Welcome.
Absolutely.
All right. Sit down. Good deal. Excellent.
Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Well, some of you guys out there, you probably don't already know, I am affiliated with Anthony. We come from the same area. We're from the same geographical location. We went to Hallsboro High School.
Oh,
yeah.
Tigers.
You can Google that if you don't know anything about it. You can find out about it.
I'm going to have to Google it.
Well, you Google
I don't know.
You know. See, this is what they do. This is how they behave when they try to play games and stuff like that. But yeah, Hallsboro, North Carolina. I graduated. What year did you graduate? I graduated in '90.
The final class, 1992.
Golly almighty. And they shut it down.
We shut it down.
What y'all do down there? The old school down. Yeah, we got to shut it down.
Nah, it was some real good days there. Real good days. So let's start from here. Okay. Tell us, first of all, how did you two meet?
Oh man,
Let's
a mutual
talk about
friend.
that.
A mutual friend. I was in a point in my life where, turning left was the only turn I had.
Right.
She pulled me back right.
Right.
So, it's by the grace of God. All praise be to God.
Hey, that's what we need in our life.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
We need some organization and some structure.
That's right.
She's laughing. She's like, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
So during the time when you guys first met, was there a business, were you guys talking business at the time, or is that something that just came after the romance?
Well, I think initially it began with just a mutual attraction.
Okay.
And from there, just along the lines of conversation, I knew what I was looking for. She knew what she was looking for. I was retooling myself, and I was trying to find a way that would lead me away from the ways that I knew before.
Right.
Which, my upbringing was sound.
Right.
When I say it was sound, meaning I had people in my life that, told me the right things to do. My grandfather tell me, let's get up before the sun rise and do this. That's what he always told me. He said, get up before the sun come up and do this.
Right.
And that's what I continue to do.
Well, I didn't live in Hallsboro. We went to the same school, but my understanding of knowing you guys and everything, how everybody rolled and stuff like that and everything, man, y'all were always like real cool. Everybody was like, no, for real, everybody was like real cool, very nice, very sociable and everything. Right. Everybody loved you guys. Right. Everybody loved you guys. I'm pretty sure it's still like that.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I would like to think so. When I say that the bond that, the guys that I have from that area are still sound, they are. From the time we came up to here to now, we still socialize. Of course, everybody went their own ways. Right. But that's life.
Yeah, that's the progression.
That's life. Right. That's the progression, natural progression.
Right.
And I'm proud of all of them because everybody's doing things that we can say are conducive to society now.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole idea now, is to contribute. You know what I mean? And like you had mentioned before we came on, to educate others. Right. So they can see that there's a pathway that leads us to prosperity.
Absolutely.
and that's the whole idea behind, you know, what her and I do. You know what I mean? Is to, you know, help people understand the benefits of financial freedom.
Right.
You know, and to offer that opportunity and, you know, doors that have been closed to open them, you know.
Let me ask your question. And it may be similar, it may be different from, you know, my perspective to your perspective.
Okay.
When we talk about financial freedom, we talk about money. When was your first, like, indication or someone, I know you mentioned earlier what your grandfather said. But say it again. Say it again.
He told me, man, get up before the sun rise and do this.
Okay.
Yeah, get up before the sun get up and do this.
And the other thing about the dollar.
Oh man, that came from my Uncle Jimmy.
Oh, your Uncle
God,
Jimmy.
yes.
Your Uncle Jimmy said that.
Yes, what Jimmy told me, he said, man, if you look like a dollar, you can get a dollar.
You look like a dollar.
You can get
a
a dollar.
You know what I mean?
You
And
get a dollar.
that's one of the things that the gentleman style always present.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is that look. You
Right.
know, and that's one of the things that I can say, man, you know, I commend you guys for.
Come on now, you're not doing bad yourself. Come on now, y'all are clean. Y'all came here to represent. And we're matching for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how that happened. What's going on?
Something in the water,
It's
man.
organic. It's organic, man. When it's organic, it's
Say great minds think alike.
Hey, I
That's
go
what
for
they
that.
say.
I go for that.
That's what they say.
So when you guys, I guess, after you guys had the mutual attraction, where did the business side of it start? Who had the idea and expounded on it?
Well, my first thing was finding out what her background was with education. You know, I myself, you know, I graduated from Hallsborough High, as you know, and I didn't proceed to college because I got drafted by Milwaukee Brewers.
Right.
You know, and at the time,
I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
I did not know
Okay,
that.
yeah. I actually went from high school to professional baseball
Oh,
at the
okay.
age of 17.
Right.
You know, I didn't. At that time, you know, the options was this. I had 2 daughters on the way.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
The options was this, is to go to the things that I knew my neighborhood had offered, or go for something that I knew that I had been groomed, you know what I mean, and I had a talent, you know,
Right.
gift from God to do.
Right.
And I proceeded with the latter of the 2 choices, you know. And, you know, it was productive for me. You know, it was an opportunity, you know, as a young man, you know, going away from home and things, you know, it's a lot to learn. You know, there's a lot to see, you know, it was a great experience for me.
Okay.
So when I came back home in the off season, you know, the turbulence in my neighborhood was just that, you know, it was a storm brewing there.
Right.
Because, you know, the epidemic of, you know, the drugs and things
Right.
like that from the late 80s and all,
Right.
swept all across the nation.
Right.
And I was in that particular, you know, generation.
Right, right.
And unfortunately, I was the victim of a shooting, you know, that snatched my career from me.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
and through those trials, though, you know, I was never one to say I'm going to bend to my condition. You know, I began to, you know, take classes in, you know, the local community college,
Yeah.
Southeastern Community College,
Right.
and, you know, went on to try to further my baseball career. You know, but however, you know, the elements of the street and the pull of the street, the draw was strong
Oh,
at
it's
that
strong.
time. It was very
It's
influential.
strong.
And the people that I looked up and admired and things like that, because my uncles, the one I mentioned who told me look like a dollar, you can get a dollar, those guys went to college and was in Greensboro, Raleigh, you know, areas that were affluent, you know, for, you know, productivity and
Right,
growth,
right,
you know.
right, right.
And so, you know, and I make no excuses because all this is you know, a piece of the puzzle to make me the man that I am today, you
Right.
know. And as we move forward from that particular incident and those setbacks, you know, so I just kept striving, and I tried some things, you know. I actually told her about, you know, me having aspirations to open a restaurant, and I did that, you know, and I did that, you know, I had to be maybe, 23, 24 years old when I opened my first business.
Right.
And so my acumen was always about business, and I actually went to school and took business courses, and that's where we aligned at, you know. And Carlina, when I explain her to people, when I introduce her to, you know, people that know me, I say she's the female version of me. Yeah, but her hustle is 10 times stronger.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And her vision and her acumen for business and her acumen for seeing, you know, just the different, what can I say, the trends. You know what I mean? It just was, you know, it baffled me, you know.
What was the ultimate turning point for you?
I would say the ultimate turning point for me, as opposed to going left or coming right,
Correct.
okay, the ultimate turning point for going left,
Okay.
you know what I mean, was the money and just the lure of the streets.
Right.
That was the ultimate turning point, where it was just like, there was nothing that area offered that could provide that lifestyle.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And if you connect with anybody that came from New York to Florida, they understood what was going on in that little town in North Carolina, you know? And it's one of those things where I'm not proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but at the end of the day, like I said, it's a
It
part of
made
the
a part,
puzzle,
right.
you know? And we know that that particular lifestyle leads one or two ways: the jailhouse or the
dead.
graveyard.
Right.
So I'm still here, so that means I went one of those ways.
Right. Right.
And me, myself, many of my family members, you know, were incarcerated.
Yeah.
You know, myself, I did 17 and a half years in federal prison, you know. And during that time, I always, you know, would go by things that I learned from guys that had been there for a while, and they would always tell me that allow your body to be here, but never allow your mind to stay here.
Right. Right.
And
I've always heard that.
You know, I would
Right.
read, you know what I mean, and I would investigate areas that I knew that were out there for me to achieve. And like I said, I always had a business mind. You know what I mean? We can look at some of the greater models of business success. I would think from our community, everybody would look at Jay-Z.
Right.
He is, you know, he pronounces openly, man, I was in the streets.
Right.
And that hustle gave me the hustle that I got
Right.
to turn the right way
Right.
and do right things,
Right.
you know? And so it's that, you know, that same attitude that I approach business with now, you know, just understanding that even in the legitimate world, you got people that stab you in the back. Even in the legitimate world, you got people that's looking for a way to get ahead, and there's very few opportunities.
Absolutely.
Very few. where you can say,
Look at the current state of the government right now.
Oh, my
what we're
goodness.
going through now.
Oh, that's
It's a dog eat dog world.
yes, man. That's a great cesspool right there.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a
It's
great
dirty.
cesspool.
It's really
Yeah,
dirty.
that's
It's
a great
really
cesspool.
dirty.
And that's actually when I first, you know, started communicating with my wife. And, you know, like I said, I was inside. So the communication was limited, but we made a way.
Right.
And one of the things that I told her, just by the influence that she had on people that she would talk to, is that I said, baby, we need to get you into politics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always tell, but public speaking is something that she shies away from. But she's, you know, we've been doing some workshops with IBA, you know what I mean? And that has, you know, kind of opened her up to see that it's not as difficult as it may seem.
So you're up front presenting at some of the conferences that you have?
Yes, he does the introductory. I kind of close it off.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Good way to do
He
it.
warmed
So
it up.
you come, that's why I love you. You come in, you get the crowd.
Right,
Drag her in.
Right.
Just
When I
discuss.
introduce her, I tell them, I said, because you know I'm from the sports world.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so I always tell them that this is my quarterback.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And we have another partner,
Consuelo.
Consuelo Hartfield.
Okay.
And I always introduce her as my star running back.
Okay.
So they say I must be the coach of the owner, right?
Ah,
I told them I'm the mascot.
All important pieces, all
Yes, sir.
important pieces,
Yes,
all
sir.
important pieces.
exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no. We talked about the left. What about going to the right?
Going to the right, I would first lend all that to the favor of God.
Okay.
You know, my spiritual foundation is what corrects my bad ways of thinking, because the mind has a way of speaking in an influential way. Like in Islam, you know, Islam tells you there's a whisper. There's always there. It's called the waswas. You know what I mean? He's always influencing you to do the things that are of this world.
Yeah, I
This
think
dunya.
I've heard it a
Right,
couple times.
and they
myself.
call it the oh man, he's ever present. He's ever present. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the shaitan runs through the veins of the son of Adam like the blood that courses through his veins. That's how close he stays to us. You know, because it's that particular whisper that only Islam, for me, defeats.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing, and we have to stay current. You know, it's a lifestyle, much like the gentleman style. That's a lifestyle.
Right.
You know, and that's what I had to make my lifestyle. I had to make Islam my lifestyle. After that be the reason. That be the reason, that, like my grandfather said, I beat the sun up and do this.
Right.
I mean, that be the reason that, I'm catering to my wife. You know what I mean? Because this is a way into Jannah. This is a way into paradise. It's about how good of a model and a caretaker I am for her and my children. A provider, a protector.
Right.
These are the things that I model my life by. You know what I'm saying? So this is my right turn. This is the basis of the man. This is the fabric of me.
So what was it, given the fact, you're going through that experience, and now you meet this beautiful woman, and it's
Yes,
like,
sir.
okay, thank God, I've been blessed with this opportunity to have a relationship. How did you guys navigate those waters? A lot of people out here, can see each other daily anytime they want, and they can't navigate that, but you guys were able to do it, at a distance. What was that fabric like to get to that point?
Well, I know what it was for me, and it goes back to that foundation. I was, one of the things that I always pride myself on is that I always had a grandmother and a mother that nurtured me, and that woman influence is something that I always knew could motivate me to get to that next level. So I always knew that the only way to get the woman that I was searching for was that God sent her to me.
Right.
So when she came, I knew from where she came. So when she arrived, my wife wasn't Muslim at the time, but her search was there. Like she understood, there's something that's pulling me. And she would always tell me, she said that she would dream that her husband was a preacher or a pastor, he would be a spiritual leader. That's what she told you. Remember telling me that early in the relationship? And at the time, I was the imam of the community inside prison. The imam is basically the leader of the community. And I began to, teach her about Islam, and she just gravitated to her. It was one of those things where in Islam, it's not a religion of compulsion. We don't force it upon anybody. We allow people to know the truth, and then you do what you will with it.
Right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would grieve when he would give the people the message. He would grieve when they wouldn't accept it. And he said, you don't make Muslim. I sent you to give a message. Get a message, and I deal with the qalb. Let me deal with the heart of the people. So that's what I do when I relate with my wife, and when we spoke about it.
You just share the information.
Just share the information.
Right.
And it was an organic thing. And actually, that was like one of our foundation words.
Right.
Let it be organic.
Right.
Just don't force anything. Just let it be organic. And to this day, it's just like what she's growing into as a Muslim is just, for me, I don't have the words for it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have the words for
Right.
it.
There's something to be said when you found, a foundation like that's solid. It's got a way of taking stress off of you.
Definitely.
And peace, bringing you to
Definitely.
peace.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So speaking of that, that foundation has been laid. It's a nice segue into this.
Okay.
Let's talk about IBA solutions.
Okay.
How did IBA solutions? Where do you want to start from? Should we talk about Aunt Betty's halal?
I think
food?
IBA is the place to start.
Okay, let's start from there.
IBA is the place
Let's
to
start from there.
Let's tell them about what IBA was in its early stages, as far as the services that it offered and everything like that, and then what we migrated that into.
We actually started IBA with, I told you earlier, I'm a paralegal,
Correct.
so we would help immigration. But
I wondered about that.
Yeah, we saw the immigration services, and we were like, is that immigration? But
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
go.
so you're right. So we started out doing immigration. Of course, when the new president took over, immigration went away. So I was like, I have to put something in place
Right.
to still make money
Right.
and help people at the same time. Because a lot of the petitions that were out there were being denied or on hold. So, of course, if nothing's going to happen, people won't pay. So we started IBA Solution doing immigration services.
So let me ask you a question about immigration. What's the biggest cause? Say someone's already here and they've been here for a while.
Okay.
What's the biggest issue where say ICE will come and get them and send them back, and they've been here for a while? I mean, I'm talking about for years. what happens? I mean, they're working, they have a job. I mean, what?
If they're illegal over here, then they no matter how long they've been here, they have to find a way to actually get their status so they can be legal in the country. If they're illegal, ICE don't just come pick you up. You actually probably got a ticket, got pulled over, and they'll.
So that's what puts them on their radar.
Right.
And they come and look
Right.
for
If
you.
they get in any type of trouble, any interaction with the cops, police, and then ICE will get involved. If it's something minor, if they got a ticket or something, traffic, sometimes they don't come and they'll let them out because when you go to jail, you can only be held for a certain length of time.
Right.
So usually it's DUIs or something really bad, and
Right.
then ICE will come get them at that point. If they don't have a status, then of course they'll be deported. But if it's a person that's been here for a while and they come to our office, we basically give them the resources and explain and convey to them the different options that they have to get that situation corrected.
And when you say corrected, so if you've been here and I don't know this story, I'm just, listening to different people, but so if you've been here 20 years, how is it easier to get that status as opposed to being here a couple of years, or is it, doesn't matter, you're here illegally?
You hear illegal, you hear illegal. Easier being here for 20 years. Of course, if you've been somewhere for 20 years, you done establish foundation, an environment around you, whether it's kids or
Right.
you met people, you got engaged, you married, and then that's why that's how you can gain your citizenship. If you have children that was born here, somebody been here 20 years, of course, a lot of times they've already had kids, so that's definitely a platform you can use to be able, and if they haven't been in any trouble. If it's someone that's constantly getting in trouble, a lot of times they'll deny, and then of course they'll be deported.
So if you're clean, then you can, and you haven't established citizenship, anything like that, you can actually kind of start working your way. But the one sign, if you get into a trouble, like you mentioned before, like a ticket, a DUI, or something like that, then you're pretty much kind of messed up in a way. You can't really come. And let me ask you this: once you are deported after committing an offense, can you come? How is there any inlet for them? To come back?
You can be penalized. You can pay. There's a fee that you can pay. They call a reentry fee. So the government, you got to pay to get back over here.
Right.
If that's the case, if you're banned, if they put a 5-year ban on you or a 10-year ban, then you can't come back for that until that.
Is that like something they normally do?
And the ban. I'm sorry.
No, I'm wondering, is that something, when they put a ban on you, is that something they normally do depending on the offense, or is it just like random how they do? I mean, how?
No,
does
it's
that happen?
always, if you get caught here in the States, they will put a ban where you can't come back. But there are still ways around that. It's just depending on, what country it is. Some countries are harder than others to get back over here, but some are not. But in order to actually get citizenship, you have to be sponsored over here through a family member. His job is one, but it's really hard to get a work visa to get over here in school.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, we had to go in a deep dive.
That's fine. Now you got the early seeds of it, and at that time the
Well,
ICE.
let me remember. When the IVA, in terms of immigration, that's when I called him when he got that call the chance to be able to call me. I was like, this is not working. Let me go get into work for an attorney. Let me go back to work. And that's when he was like, no, let's sit down. So that's how we transitioned to where we are now in terms of what IVA is.
Okay.
So she, like I said, she's a paralegal by trade. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So going to work for a paycheck to me was just like, it befuddled me. It was just something that I never aspired to do, With her legal expertise and the way, as she so eloquently spoke about immigration, and then when she spoke about other realms of the legal world, and then knowing the outlets that she had, and just knowing some of the resources that she made me familiar that she had, I said, sweetheart, we have to do this solo. We got to go into business for ourselves. And so that avenue, like she said, it was being constricted even then. And so I said, okay. I said, because your ways of helping these individuals achieve certain things, even after the legal citizenship had arrived, even after she had crossed that hurdle, there were other things that were closed to them, the banking systems, getting adequate housing, transportation, and the strategies that she devised, man, it was just like, how did you figure that out?
Let's talk about that. Hold that thought for a second.
Welcome back.
All right. Going into, we talked about the immigration part of it, okay? Let's talk about, because I saw y'all have multiple avenues as far as.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other layers that you added on after that and started building the company to what it is today.
Okay. Like I said, her strategies that she devised to be able to, get these people in the doors of not only the citizenship side of things, but the banks opening up, adequate housing and transportation. I thought this is a service that everybody needs, because, like I said, me coming out of prison, I knew that a lot of doors were shut for them. Of course, they passed some things to help guys to be able to actually get a job,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But like I said, working, it was one of those things, it's not for everybody. Just like entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Absolutely.
So I said that that I in there, man, it has to stand for something greater than just immigration. I said, and it's things that, we can open up that really we know the foundation to living is what? You got to have that necessary.
Right.
You got to have that bread. That's just what it is. That's just the society, this is the world that we live in. So I said, let's change it. We international. We won't limit ourselves to any space. So let's make ourselves international banking access. And that's what IBA is. And that's what we provide. So when you go into the idea of what that actually means, we're talking about one of the tools, that many people misuse, that they need to be coached in and trained in, is how do you actually use credit, and we don't do any credit repair. We go into something a great level higher than that, because can we turn a 400 into a 700? Indeed we can. Like I said, the strategies that she has is just, second to none. And now we're saying to ourselves, okay, even then, there are certain, qualifications that lenders look at that most people are not privy to. So through that education and through that particular will, we began to, get people in the homes, get people in the vehicles that they always aspired to have, and not only that, but coach them on how to keep it. Don't just get it, but coach them on how to keep it, how to stay inside your means.
Right.
And if your means, if your vision, if you can see it, then we can tell you how to get there. But if you can see it and you really want to work to have it, then we can coach you to get there.
Absolutely.
And so, like I said, the strategy that she devised were just, second to none. And we just feed off one another. You know what I mean? And that was one of the things she was like, sweetheart, we help people with credit, but that's not what we do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not what we do. And that's just a minuscule of what we do, And like I said, our other partner, Ms. Hartfield, she is a licensed agent here in the greater Georgia area.
Okay.
And she has been a profound addition. She was a friend for my wife before she became a partner in the business. And they have a program where they actually do a lease to own in collaboration with my wife. But there's a certain qualification and criteria that you have to meet to get to that point.
Right.
So those are some of the tiers that we're stepping into now, and that's like really right now like one of our our, biggest push right now, as it pertains to getting people, like I said, adequate housing and things of that
Right.
nature. And she can speak more in the tune of some of the things that, you want to have for those qualifications or what have you.
So what,
Okay, well, American Home Partners is the program that Consuela Hartfield that he mentioned. She's a realtor, she's a certified agent for that particular company. And she is developed a system where you can actually lease to own. So a lot of people come and they want to buy a house, but the income might not be there, or the taxes, or whatever dilemmas they have. So while we're getting them to that point where they can do traditional financing, they're able to, and she liked us to use the word try it before you buy it, because you're leasing the home,
right,
and you can lease that home up to 60 months and then transition and actually purchasing a home. You can purchase it before the 60-month time with no penalty, but that's very, very, very popular in terms of like where people are. Because of the housing market before, a lot of people took a huge hit financially, and just with the job world out there. So a lot of people took a huge hit on their credit, on their finances. So this is something to actually transition people back into home ownership.
outstanding, very outstanding.
So when you transition to, I guess, if someone comes in and they say, okay, well, I love this particular house, how does that lease option work? Is it something that you have to find a property that's able to do that, or is that something that the program itself takes care of?
Well, Consuela being a certified agent, she will actually send a list out, because it has to be an approved home, because you got to think, you're leasing that home, so Home Partners actually went out, used their money, invested in this home, so they want to make sure it's up to codes in terms of inspection, so they're not, going to allow you to go just pick any home. So it's their investment, because at the end of the day, you're leasing a home, and if you walked away from that home, they're stuck with that home. So there's approved homes that in very nice neighborhoods. Just one recently we got, Mr. Inslee. He's in $300,000 home. He's very happy with it, and so you from 100,000, I think it is, from 100,000 to 500,000.
What I want to inject here as far as what they do is that they look for new construction.
Oh, right.
That's like one of their primary goals, is to find new construction. Of course, somebody may go see a home and fall in love with it. If it passes inspection and code, then hey, they're willing to go out and purchase that home on behalf of that.
I've actually heard of Home Partners before.
Right. They've been around, so yeah, they've been around.
They've been around.
They've been around.
Like I said, doors that have been closed
Right.
to the general public now, mainly our public.
Yeah.
The idea now is to make that available to them.
Right. Right.
Right. So that's why you've heard it before, but they've actually restructured like their qualifications to allow, lower income individuals to be able to qualify for the home.
And that comes into play when they under a plan.
Right.
This is the plan. This is how we're going to do this.
Right, because we actually sit down and have to, really talk to these people, because everybody want to live in a mansion.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody,
But at the end of the day, can you afford it? So, and that's when I reel them back in, like back to earth.
Now, is any of that, as you lease that home, does any of that actually go to a down payment, or do you not have to do a down payment, or do you just have to refinance the house yourself?
All of that's equity.
Well, on that, he's talking about like your monthly payments. Your monthly payments, you're leasing the home, so you're only paying like a security deposit to get in the home. But one thing that's very attractive for this program is that if you bought that home at $200,000, and you, if Home Partners bought it at $200,000, in your contract it states $200,000. In 3 years, you're still paying the same price that they bought it for. And of course, the property should have went up in value if the market stayed the way it is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah.
So that kind of takes them out of the loop as far as any type of liability if they want to exit out at a certain time.
Exactly.
So there's an advantage there.
And it reports to their credit when they pay their rent. So
Okay,
it's helped
then
them out.
that's a positive
Yeah.
as well.
So having a mortgage trade on your credit is definitely a plus.
Excellent. Okay, what's the next level?
Okay. When we start talking about home ownership, there are things that come along with that. People want the automobile to match.
Right.
They want that lifestyle, that whole deal. So before we had an automobile program that we did, and of course, the appetite, people bite off more than they can chew, and it leads them down the road of, what is going to be accumulated debt.
Right.
And how we circumvent that is through this, like I said, the strategies that we devise to coach people into what you can afford.
Right.
You know, like you said, reeling back in. You know, so we devise a strategy to allow people, you know, if you can see it, if you can get the vision for it, that we can tell you how to get there based on your income, right?
Mhm.
And based on what you can actually afford,
Right.
So now when I can remember, and this was funny, I can remember talking to my wife in the automobile segment of the business, which I said we got away from it and built another strategy to keep people from that debt, accumulating that debt,
Right.
and leading them into repo,
Right.
right? Usury. So I asked her, I said, so you telling me when I get home that I can get a Bentley? she said, that's nothing. Yeah, you can get a Bentley.
Okay.
I said, so you telling me I can get a house? Yeah, you can get a house. I said, and a boat. She said, we can get you a houseboat and we can get wings on it. So, you know, it's if you have the patience and the discipline to actually follow these strategies that IBA lay out for you, then these things are achievable. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, man, because, you know, we have to be here. You know what I mean? And we want to be as comfortable as we can in this life. You know what I'm saying? We want to leave our children with a legacy.
Right.
You know? I can remember my wife making a post. I know it can't, you know, I'm not going to repeat it verbatim, but do you want to leave them, shoes and clothes, or do you want to leave them a legacy, land, businesses, you know,
Right.
accumulated wealth,
Right.
you know, and this is what we're striving for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's a process, man.
Right.
You know, it's a process. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Oh, no.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, you know, and if you can have the discipline and you can have the patience, and patience doesn't come easy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something you have to work on.
Yeah, the beginnings of that generational wealth.
Right.
Definitely. And that's the whole goal, man. And that's the whole thing. It's like, man, just understanding that all these things are achievable, but there's a path, you know, and there's steps to it, and you can't jump over the steps.
Right.
You know, you have to take this graduated elevation.
Absolutely.
How hard is that to explain to people? Yeah, you can get a Bentley, but just not today.
Yeah, but I mean, people want what they want.
And they want it when they want it.
People
so
want what they want, you know, and you know, the thing about it is that as hard as it may be, sometimes all money ain't good money.
Right.
Right.
So sometimes we have to turn people away. You know, when we can't help them understand, you know, because everybody's not going to, when we can't reel them back in to get them to see that, man, listen, your vision is not something that you can't achieve,
Right.
but we can't skip these steps.
Right.
You know, and that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's you know, like I said, it's a development of a mindset. It's a development of a lifestyle. It's a development of education, man. We need to be re-educated.
Right.
You know, a lot of they said before, the new you can live, the old you gotta die.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now it's about killing off those things that, you know, that you have set out in front of you that, you know, may be in your reach at some point, but just not, like you said, just not right now. And everybody doesn't accept that. So sometimes, you know, it's just that's not the client 5 years.
Exactly. See, that's one of the big problems I have with our current educational system. Like when you small and you coming up, they don't talk about money. They don't talk about how to build these things. That is a negative,
Oh my goodness, man.
especially here.
Oh my goodness.
That's a negative. That's the wrong thing. That should be the first thing that you talk
Oh my
about.
goodness, man. Oh my
You know.
goodness. Educating our children, you know what I mean? That's one of the things that we have to embrace that
Right.
responsibility.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have to be the ones.
And it has to be, like you said, we,
Right.
not them.
No, we
It's-
definitely have
it's-
to, we have to
right.
educate. And it begins with structuring your
Right.
own situation.
Right.
You know, and showing discipline so they can actually see that tangible restraint.
Right.
You know, because coming up in Hallsboro, you know, as we mentioned, you know, it was a little farm town.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, you know, I done worked the tobacco fields, you know what I'm saying, from the time it was a seed to the time we sold it at the warehouse.
Right.
You know, so I understand the grit. You understand? But as you look at the
You
process.
never put two buck barns in one day.
Oh man, 2 buck balls, 2 buck balls and a stick ball, and a stick ball, yeah.
Okay, all right,
So you know what it
I know
is.
what you're talking about.
know what it is. Yes, sir. Yes,
Saying
sir.
love it all.
So, I mean, but when I look at that particular sweat and that grind, that work, you know what I mean? If you look at the process, like I said, the seed, then the seed grow into a stalk, and then you got these leaves, and before you can even crop it, you know, you got to take off that which contaminated the leaf. You got to break off the suckers and
Right.
the tops of it.
Exactly.
So now the flower, it can
Right.
grow.
It can grow.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then even before you get to the top, you got to start at the bottom.
That's
They
right.
call it bottom sand lugging.
Saying, look,
You know what I mean? So you got the sand
That's
lug.
right.
You got to get
right.
down to the bottom. And then you work your way up, man. You can
And you
strip the
work your way
whole
up.
stalk.
that's right.
You can strip the whole stalk then. And that's if that approach right there. You know what I mean? And I never explained it that way. But if you take that approach, you know, these things that, you know, people aspire to have, you know, these material things, these things are easily within your grasp.
Right.
But you got to be willing to sand love
Right.
and break off that which poisons.
Right.
You know, in order for it to bloom. And now
That's
you can
right.
start at the bottom and work your way up. It's there.
That's absolutely
It's
correct.
within reach, man.
That's a great analogy. Most
It
people
is.
won't understand it.
Yeah.
That's why Google is your friend.
Yeah, country boys, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you this. So how does that translate? And we went through everything with IBA Solutions. That the,
We covered the
what,
base
what,
on that thing.
what the next thing I would like to know, since we started there, how does that transform and translate, and how does that get us to halal seafood? Aunt Betty's halal
Aunt
seafood.
Betty's halal soul food.
Soul food. I don't
Okay.
know if I said seafood.
My favorite food.
What I can tell you this, man, is these hands
Mm-hmm.
have been graced by God,
Okay.
right? She can tell you more about her Aunt Betty when I allow
Oh,
her to
it's yours?
discuss.
Okay.
When I let her discuss about her Aunt Betty.
Okay.
But I gotta tell you what led us in the direction of the cooking and actually having, you know, a restaurant, right?
Okay.
Like I told you, my first business was a restaurant.
Right.
Right.
Right. What kind of restaurant was your first restaurant?
It was halal soul food,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But I had a West Indian cooking,
Ah.
right? And he had a skill with curry. I mean, from curry goat, the curry chicken,
Right, right.
the vegetables, and his food, man. I mean, it was profound.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're
And
making me hungry.
listen, and it was the best I had ever tasted until I tasted her cooking.
Mm.
And so then I said, sweetheart, we got to get this to the people. We got to get this to the people. And she wanted a restaurant. I've been there, the brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming to a point now where it's evolving back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But at that stage, when we first started at the inception of Aunt Betty's,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't the avenue. I told we have to get the food out to the people.
Right.
Before they can come to us, we have to get it to them. So we
Okay.
started vending.
Okay.
Right? We started going out to different events, you know, different, you know what I'm saying, catering, you know, gigs that we had got, and people started to talk about the food.
Creating
you know
that
what I
brand
mean?
awareness.
It started, exactly. And, you know, it was like, okay, we're going in the right direction.
Correct.
We're going in the right direction. And I started seeing this, you know, the big spring of like the food trucks. And I was saying, okay, well, baby, that
Right.
might be the direction we need to go, but let's continue with that, which is, you know, let's keep pushing our momentum.
Right.
Right? The vending situation, not so much. You know what I mean, that's a lot of work on the old man. That's a lot of work on the old man. And she's doing all the cooking, all the seasoning. I'm helping with the prepping and all the heavy lifts, and I
Right.
got that.
Right.
But, you know, in order for it to have that touch on it, she had to have her hands on it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we have to continue to evolve for this thing to get out to the masses like what we really want. But we go back to that which is God-given, you know what I mean? And through that patience and through that persistence and putting out that good product, we're leading into a situation now that I discuss once she tell you about her gift and, you know, kind of introduce you to Aunt Betty.
Okay.
Well, you came up with the name. I mean, it's my Aunt Betty, and I
Yeah.
always was telling him, because he's like, oh goodness, how you remind me of my grandmother. My grandmother sent you to me.
Mama Beulah, that's her
Brutal
son.
sent you to me. You cook it, you know. So I told him that when I was 5, I was always at my Aunt Betty's house. She always cutting up an onion, do this. And I was always, so how long you leaving those collard greens on? So how long the cornbread in the oven? So I was just inquisitive about what she was doing in that kitchen. And I started cooking for my entire family. So, of course, when I became Muslim, there was no more holidays, and they couldn't come over and eat all this spread of food. So everybody was coming to me, and I told them, I said, well, you know, one day I'm going to just sell dinners. So I sold dinners, and it was like the next week, you have any dinners? So wait a minute, I just did that for fun. And then we started vending and got our name out there, and one of my friends reached out to me, and she's like, hey, this is big, what is it, a contract, development coming to Columbia, South Carolina. I discussed it with my husband. He reached out to the project manager, and it kind of evolved from there.
They have a project coming up in Columbia, right? It was actually at one point in time, Bull Street. If you were familiar with Columbia back when we were coming up, and you heard the word Bull Street, you knew it was associated with mental health, right? And it was a whole city inside a city that they developed to deal with the mental health, the mentally ill. I mean, they had their own lodging, they had their own eateries, they had their own church. Everything was there in a square block sitting right in the greater Columbia area, right? And I'm talking about right in the metropolitan area, right? So now this area now, because of them moving those particular services to other part of the city, have been sitting dormant. So now you have a group of investors who have come through now that are redeveloping that area, and everything is going along the lines of moving into the next millennium. So from the fiber optics to the communication systems they're putting up down there, they have a semi-pro baseball team stadium that they built down there.
Really?
And they're building right outside of this. This is a part of this particular development called the Bull Street District.
Oh, okay.
The particular venture that we're going into, you have this developing company that's putting a food court right inside this development. Right now, this development has investors in the neighborhood of somewhere between 130, 150 million that they got in there now, and it's not even close to being done.
Right.
We just took a tour there, you know what I mean, so we could see the actual development that we are investing in. And it's called the Sanctuary, right? They're actually taking the cathedral that they got there, gutting it out, and making it into a food court. And they are being very, very selective because they want an international appeal. They want, you know, to be able, everybody to come and, you know, and see that integration there,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And the Sanctuary, when we went on that tour, I thought it was like a massive project, and it is. It is a massive project, and a lot of, you know, you can tell that they're putting a lot of funds into this particular development. But the overall situation, man, it's a city inside a city, and nobody knows about it. Nobody knows. And you
Maybe take a trip.
Man, listen,
to
you
Columbia
know,
just to look at
you
it.
know that if you're gonna hear any gossip, you're gonna hear it in the barbershop.
Yes, true. That's true.
Right? If you're gonna hear anything about anything that's going on in the city, you're gonna hear it in the barbershop.
Right.
And my barber grew up in Columbia. Quarterbacking on his football team, and so he's a no. You know what I mean? He's familiar with the area. When I
Right.
told him about the area, he was familiar with the area, but what was going on in this area, he was totally, you know, he had no idea. You know, he had no idea. But you know, it's, I mean, like I said, it's when God for you, can't nobody be against you.
Absolutely.
You know, and when we had this vision about, you know, what we was going to do with this gift that she had and how we were going to make it grow into something that, you know, give it to the people, you know, and that's the whole idea behind it. And this is, you know, we on the fringes of this opportunity, you know.
That's excellent.
And I'm grateful.
That's excellent.
Amazing.
You're like Terrence now. Y'all making me hungry. what is that? You know, like,
Well, you know what? We have our first annual customer appreciation gala tomorrow at North Cross. You are more than welcome to come down.
we actually have to thinking about going to Norcross tomorrow.
We got to go to North Cross. If I go back to North Carolina without going to North Cross, it's going to be a problem. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
We have time. What time is yours? Because we have a 12 o'clock that we have to be at tomorrow.
That one's 6 to 9, so it's later in the evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Might be a possibility.
Yeah.
We have a 12 and then we have a 3. that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
But yes, so, are we good?
We good. Unless you guys got anything else you want to tell us about? You know, this is a platform that if you got something else you want to share, feel free.
Okay. I think if I had anything to offer by way of the information that we discussed today, and you know the many blessings that's been bestowed upon me, my wife, and my family, is that you know no matter how dark things get, you know if you keep your eyes open long enough, man, you're gonna get some light. You're gonna get some light.
I totally agree.
You know they have a saying out there that adversity builds character.
Yeah.
I totally disagree with that saying. Adversity reveals character.
Wow.
And what you do is you learn who you are.
Right.
You learn the level and the amount of internal fortitude that you have, the intestinal fortitude, if you will. You know, and you know just how hard you're willing to grind to get what you're willing to have for mankind.
Right.
You know, and that's the idea, man. That's what we're building.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
You guys look right there in that camera right there and tell them where they can find you guys at.
You can go to www.ibasolutions.com and you can be satisfied with the many strategies that we have to give you financial freedom and get you well on the way to your way of home ownership and having all the things that you aspire to have in this world for you and your family, to give them a better life and a better way in this world. You can tell them a little bit about how it is.
IBA is your solution. Call us 404-839-2086.
You better tell them about our baddies. You want them to get that good food.
Aunt Betty, we forgot about Aunt Betty. All this good food. Aunt
I
Betty.
know.
But Aunt Betty, we sort of dormant until the project, other than if you wanted something catered.
Currently, Aunt Betty's Halal Soul Food is doing catering. You can reach us at 803-476-2811. We cater in large and small events. We're coming to the greater Columbia area soon. We're under development there. In the meantime, give us a call at 803-476-2811 so we can cater your event and give you some of this great Halal Soul Food.
Perfect.
Perfect. Absolutely.
Perfect. Hey, it has been a pleasure having you guys
Oh
here.
man, it's been a pleasure. It's been all mine.
A pleasure.
A lot of good information. A lot of good
Exactly.
information.
Exactly.
Well, take us out.
So once again, as we always like to say, we believe in better. I'm Baldwin.
And I'm Creech. And there's no excuse for
For good
taste.
taste.
Yeah.